Um, I'd like to now introduce our speakers to you all. We have Jillian Almeida. She's the event advisor at Dalberg's Mumbai office. She looks at the in-person and virtual event production of events at Dalberg. She's been doing that for the past 3 years now. Her work focuses on piloting and executing internal and external stakeholder events at Dalberg, while also working on sustaining and strengthening the relationships that she has with her clients, and to enhance the brand quality of Dalberg and to create a smooth functional event process for maximum traction. We have with us Chavi. She is a co-founder of Saturday Art Class. She's also the chief design officer at Saturday Art Class. She has a bachelor's of architecture degree from Rachna Sansad Academy of Architecture, which is based in Mumbai. And she has previously worked in programs delivering art education in orphanages and cancer specialty hospitals. At Saturday Art Class, she looks into curriculum design and development, program training, and evaluation frameworks, hiring, fundraising, and outreach. We also have Deepthi with us. She's a program lead at Saturday Art Class. She is a psychology graduate from Franklin and Marshall College, and she has completed the TFI fellowship in Mumbai. She has a decade of experience in special and mainstream education, serving in various leadership roles at NGOs, clinics, and schools across a few countries, including India. At present, she serves as a program lead at Saturday Art Class with a focus on leading program and curriculum design, implementation, and training. Finally, we have Sunil Arora. He's the executive director at Balasha Trust. He has over 27 years of experience with nonprofit, and his work is mainly focused towards vulnerable children and their rehabilitation. Over a span of 35 years, Balasha has supported more than 4,500 children. Finally, we'd like to introduce ConnectFor and our webinars to you all. As you may already know, we act as a matchmaking platform between volunteers and nonprofits. We work with NGOs and volunteers across the country, and we connect them as per each stakeholder's requirements and skills. We have partnered with over 500 plus NGOs in these past 5 years and connected them with over 24,000 volunteers. The NGOs that we work with are from different social cause verticals, be it environment, community development, education, disaster management, women empowerment, etc. And since the beginning of the pandemic last year, we've been organizing webinars with the main agenda of building capacity to our nonprofits, for our nonprofit teams, and also introducing and connecting them to different expert persons outside of their own organizations or sectors. These webinars can be of challenge-based, volunteer-based, or sector-based topics. Previously, in our previous webinar that we facilitated earlier this month, we focused on strengthening the digital presence through volunteers for our partner NGOs. We collaborated with both Teach for India and a past volunteer at ConnectFor for this particular webinar. As you can see, these are some couple of topics that we covered regarding both social media and website development that nonprofits teams can keep in mind while working on their digital presence. We have another upcoming webinar scheduled for this particular quarter. It is on tactics for project management. We'll be focusing upon how exactly teams and project managers can be aware of crisis management and the strategies that we could keep in mind to get their team and project back on track. It is scheduled for 15th of September, again from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. My team member, Aishwarya, will be sharing the link with you in the chat box shortly. Moving forward, we like to set the event context with you. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. This webinar will be focusing on the different kind of events you can organize for your beneficiaries, communities, and other stakeholders. It will be divided into three sections. First one, focusing on webinars and workshops. Second section would be about beneficiary interaction. And finally, the third one would be about awareness events. Again, questions that you have in your mind, you could use the chat option available to you. In case you're unable to cater to all of your queries, you can also share with us via the feedback form. And we'll recommend you all to keep a notebook just in hand so that it'll be easier for you to address and remember any points that are brought up during this particular webinar workshop. And that brings an end to my introduction here. I'd like to now invite Jillian from Dalper to share her perspectives about event management. Yes, Jillian, you can keep your mic on. Keep your microphone on. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Lovely. Amazing to meet everybody here today. And thanks, Adelina, for the introduction. It's great to be here with each one of you. And I'm here to discuss about how to use workshops and webinars for maximum traction and explain to you how you can use them for different purposes. So as we grapple with ongoing challenges, right, of the COVID-19 pandemic has brought on, it is valuable to be sharing insights and learnings on virtual events, be it workshops or webinars, and it's come to be an integral part of our professional lives. As I move along, what I'd like for each one of you is to share your comments and queries as I move from portion to portion. And I'd like for this to be as interactional as possible. I will try and cover the questions that you ask me in the chat box as we go along. We're all here to learn from one another, and maximum interaction is great. So without further ado, I'm going to be sharing my screen now. Adelina, is this visible?
Yes. Yeah.
Lovely. So I'm just going to be putting my screen, my video off. This is better. Okay, great. All right, let me begin by telling you that I know the event is titled as flawless events, but I'm going to start off by telling you that no event is completely flawless. That's a lot of undue pressure we put on ourselves, given the fact that every event has multiple moving dynamic variables right up until the event day. In our attempt to strive for perfection, it is important to keep realistic expectations, and always important to plan 3 steps ahead and anticipate every angle of outcome. That's how you get the flawlessness, and that's how you get professionalism. So with this frame of mind and the position to add a value event in your kitty, let's take a look at how to make the right decision between choosing between a workshop and a webinar format for your event. So if we move on to the next slide, please go through the slide as carefully as possible, and I will take you through it step by step. So the purpose of a workshop is to introduce a concept, provide high-level thought leadership, educate and train, ideate, provide closed-door interaction. It is meant to provide a collective purpose and with a definitive end in mind, designed to stimulate thinking and compel immediate action. When considering a format of this workshop, it is important to bear in mind what kind of format and expression you're looking for. And it's best to build a workshop format for your event. If interaction formats are like roundtables, breakfast, discussion, trainings, and dissemination is what you're looking for. The close-knit environment builds a safe space to discuss freely and openly, and often provides immediate feedback on the content and topic of discussion. Since it's a workshop and the format is meant to bring minds together collectively and creatively, of course, This format helps get the audience's creative juices flowing and allows freedom for trial and error discussions during breakouts. It helps the host organization pull together a specific target group to test theories and discuss research, bringing about an almost immediate feedback and further course of action that a company would otherwise spend greater time and effort trying to figure out. Being in the same virtual room with a few select stakeholders, it aids in procuring first-hand information, helps you to share information and industry knowledge, compels decision makers to act, and offers personal collaboration. A few things to keep in mind and which matter greatly when selecting this format of event is firstly, the optimal number of attendees you want in the room. Anything more than 50 packs, capped at 80 packs should be ideal for constructive and non-disruptive workshops. Anything lesser than 15 would ideally be a roundtable, and more than 80 would ideally be a webinar. So as mentioned earlier, this format is highly flexible. Should you want to include breakouts or a number of online and offline team activities, a workshop is the closest one you can get to an in-person experience since it allows attendees to mute and unmute their audio and video. And of course, ensure that you have a team to facilitate movements and transitions to be able to use such a format. So I personally find workshops to be highly useful when you use it to discuss theory or research and require like a sampling audience to test and provide feedback and the way forward amongst other uses. I'm going to move on to the webinar format now. So as you see on the screen, the webinars are great if you have RSVPs of say 80 packs and above, solely because online facilitation of a large crowd is not only difficult as if you've already hosted one, you'd know for yourself, but it can get disruptive to the smooth flow of an event. Seminars, panel discussions, book launches, interviews, fundraisers, and the like are most suited to the webinar format as there is a need for clear distinction between those on the virtual stage and off stage. So unlike the workshop format, here the focus and the spotlight is on the speakers, be it the host, co-hosts, invited panelists, and moderators. So in this case, you would definitely require muting attendees to provide a clean-cut experience for all attending. Since the spotlight is on a few, it provides lesser leeway for easygoing discussions. And all kinds of spoken, written, and screenshot content needs to be carefully examined as content is quoted and used over YouTube links, tweets, and other media. The plus side to this format is that the world is your audience. There is no cap on the number of attendees you can possibly have in the room. This itself provides large data collection from attendees, wider collaboration, and promotes your brand to global audience. Opportunities for branding and traction are great and serve a dual purpose. You can use the streamline and synthesize content also on social media, blogs, and listings. Basically, any portal you wish for further engagement post the event. So I've included the slide here to make sure that everyone knows how to use the right platform. Choosing the right platform is a little tricky. Everyone wants the best that they can for their firm, and everyone wants the best features. But the thing is about the platform is you need to know how the platform works, what features are most suited to your event, to your firm, to your budget, etc. So once you decide the format, and selecting the best video conferencing option is the next in line of importance. Whichever format you choose a platform wisely. It is the platform and an opportunity to build your brand, your value, the trustworthiness, competence, and credibility and authority in your industry. So hence choose wisely. You may have the best content, but choosing the wrong platform may result in waste of energy and resources. And then there is also the stigma of seeming unprofessional. The platform you choose should not only fit your budget, your event requirements, and personal user experience, that is for yourself and the ones who are attending, but should also be an application that can be easily navigated by just about anybody. Demographics plays a huge part in decision making as well, as it is important to bear in mind that the audience you seek may or may not be tech savvy or even want to use a multifaceted platform. For example, like older generation users are more likely to want a simple interface with a simple login, nothing fancy. Or the target audience you're looking at is based in a location with low connectivity or lacks access to digital equipment. So attention to details like this and cues will help you make the right decision. Now, in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to share important top of mind attributes of a functional, professional, and noteworthy event experience. So let's start with content. So content is the life force of every event. Every company is an information business first. So when you decide to do a workshop or webinar, you're sharing part of that information as a means to an end. Be it brand building, collaboration, business, and so on. To be able to determine and construct appropriate content for a virtual event, one needs to determine the purpose of the event and then identify the objectives. It's in this pathway to the purpose of the webinar wherein lies the crux of the event. There are various elements to consider before arriving at the event goal. The first step is to find a purpose and to determine what direction you want this event to head in, and then strategize accordingly. Do we need to utilize micro macro lens while covering a certain topic? What would have maximum impact given that if you're probably thinking of a certain topic to cover, then there is a high probability that some company in the same sphere has already covered it. So in that case, what does your company want to bring to the table? Are there any foreseeable, tangible results or solutions to the problem? Who do you solve for? The next point to consider if you plan this event is how mutually beneficial it will be, not only to your organization, not only to the client organization, but also to the number of organizations represented among the attendees. Both host and attendee perspectives need to be thought through well. The content also then ought to be viewer appropriate, as any content, be it written, visual, or audio, is a direct reflection on your brand and values. This bodes well even when there is no media or agency present, as any content is reproducible. It's important to be intentional and include connection building and networking opportunities in the purpose of a virtual event. So the pandemic has robbed us of the live in-person experiences and interactions, and this is one factor that stands out as a pain point. The event purpose, content, and questions you aim to solve can be set as per the SMART measures, that is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. So moving on, as you can see over here, there are different categories where you can actually club your content and your data and fit in so that it is profitable not only for you and for the people you are hosting. Setting on creating focused content by checklist of relevance, relatability, context, and reliability. There are a few questions on the screen that you can go through. These are the factors that will help you define and polish the content you provide. Participant invest their precious, valuable time attending your event. So it's imperative to leave them with thoughts for further useful discussion and valuable takeaways. Remember to be accountable for the content that is produced. Attribute borrowed content intentionally. Be mindful of the demographic you're catering to, as it can go a long way in attendee retention. Here are some important aspects to keep in mind. Use visual aids, maybe pictures or graphs. It is said that a picture says 1,000 words, but it is graphs that reveal everything. If you're using a picture, ensure it reflects the content you're sharing correctly. For example, if you're speaking of an Indian context, right, and if you ensure that you're using a picture that depicts Indians in that context and not people from any other nationality. Also ensure high quality, non-pixelated visuals. Content should be easily readable and coherent. Using smart, thought-provoking titles draws attention and leads to higher registrations. Ensure you have enough content to be speaking expertly on the subject you choose. You may even choose to link your planned event to some of the past event or written work. This itself will help draw attention to not just the event that you've planned and is in process, but also to your firm as a whole. So lastly, documenting event files for further consumption, be it within your firm or to public, helps in magnifying your reach way past the event date. We're going to quickly move on to curation. In the quadrants, you'll see that the task of curation covers not just content, but almost every aspect of an event to make the event as experiential, customized, and personalized as possible. Take content, for example. To deliver the best, interesting, and relevant content, one could conduct a pre-event survey to understand what topics within the select event topic are top of mind for your audience and what resonates with most of them. After all, you don't want to leave them with nothing to take back. Thoughts for reflection should be the top of mind point for you as important for your audience. Your audience should be eager to attend the next event that you plan. To go one step further, it is important to have the right mix of content. Mix and matched with the right set of speakers, audience, flow, duration, platform, and the format. Content flows and is absorbed differently through different interactions, and hence it's important to predetermine not just the content, but also how you want it to be perceived. For example, panel discussions are moderated and structured. Fireside chats are free-flowing conversations and can divert direction at any time. Workshops are built-up conversations. Trainings are one-way conversations, and so forth. So for a speaker, consider having speakers representing varied backgrounds and walks of life to give life to the conversations through varied perspectives. Also consider a professional host or have a dedicated person to moderate the discussion and to ask and curate questions from those attending. Make sure your host is authoritative, yet respectful, and is a good master of ceremonies. It is important to address speaker expectations at the start and clarify your organization expectations too, to bring the best out of a speaker. Clarify logistics. Ensure the speaker is comfortable with what is planned and has the means to join the webinar. Mix and matching speakers will help amplify the tone and informality of the conversations. You can derive more personal and real conversations with the speakers if they are known to each other. Providing adequate and equal screen time, one-on-one conversations are finer points to keep in mind. And very much like to speaker curation, it's important also to have a good sense of the audience and strive for the best match. RSVP and registration data will help you sift through those who you want attending and those who you don't want. It's important to screen registrations. You don't want to end up with a Zoom bomber or an erratic participant. This is the reason why you must decide how you want to go about publicizing the event and inviting folk. So that is whether you're open to having a public audience versus invite-only audience like C-suite execs. You may invite a number of folks, but you will have to change your strategy based on the number and categories of attendees you get. As with speakers, the best audience in the room is when you have sufficient representation from various segments you are targeting. The flow can be curated by keeping in mind user reach, navigation, and overall experience. As the host, a couple of options to provide better personalized flow would be to provide pre-event reading materials separately to speakers and separately to the audience so that they are prepped and ready for the discussions to come. Virtual events can get pretty boring, so consider using fillers like a video poll or fun quiz in between sessions and strive to provide a virtual space or alternative to network. Our next portion is creativity. It's no surprise that event building is practically like an art form, and this is visible throughout the event period. In terms of creativity, the sky is the limit. What is limiting is proof checking every idea before it is put into action. During the pre-event period, you can get creative by creating branded emails, websites, event landing pages, and every communication that goes out. In the context of branding, consistency is key. It is imperative to have the right branding. It is imperative to have the right branding adhering to all norms surrounding brand elements, consistently displaying across all communication. In particular, the registration page and the landing page are top priorities as these are two main sources of event information that is viewed by the public. Make sure to capitalize on that aspect as it becomes an unpaid site for extensive branding. In the same light, getting creative but contextual with coining a hashtag enables long-term promotion and discoverability of your event and content on search feeds. Encouraging and providing social media shareable creative such as like an infographic with your speakers and attendees allows event promotion through numerous channels. For example, creating an event badge allows a wearer to proudly associate themselves with the event and in turn to your organization. You can get creative during an event primarily by creating a stunning visual welcome screen or even maybe a virtual event banner that is proudly displayed through the event, much like a backdrop of an in-person event. This is prime area for branding for you and your stakeholders, that is your client, your speakers, sponsors, etc. Considering hiring a professional graphic designer to create stunning graphics, this is time effective and hence cost effective too. Plus, you want your creatives to have a professional touch. Furthermore, engaging in fun activities, if the situation so allows, to promote inter-attendee interaction livens up an otherwise dull virtual event. Some highly engaging activities could include mind mapping sessions, icebreakers, breakout rooms, virtual temperature checks, videos, voting, quizzes, etc. You can leave a creative polling as a means to engage post-event as well. And following the event, do not let the momentum you've built die out. Instead, schedule for informal catch-ups and create member-only group chats until the next event. You can consider kickstarting a social media conversation too, via a comment or a post. So this is what keeps the conversation going long after the event is completed. Moving quickly is the next one is that I'm going to speak about is communication. Communication is absolutely essential to hosting an effective and smooth, flawless event. Creating a plan for effective professional event communication is not an easy task at all, but it is well worth the time and effort. There needs to be clear, transparent lines of communication between everyone involved in the event. That is, your team members, your vendors, attendees, speakers, sponsors, partners, and even the public. Once the date, title, and time is finalized and set in stone, any communication post this should be carefully delivered. Setting clear expectations, timelines, and deadlines is of utmost importance. A step-by-step plan, if created, can ensure nothing slips the cracks and that you're delivering on time. Requests to desired participants to register or speakers to confirm their involvement must be clearly outlined in email outreach. Care should be taken to set the tone of communication, including pleasantries, dispensing key information about the event and planned activities. Always ensure the team is on the same page about nitty-gritty of things before confirming it to any stakeholder. Timely follow-ups should become part of the integral process. Example, a thank you note or a pre and post-event survey. Launch your webinar promotions when people are most likely to register. Make sure your email invite is at the top of your recipients' inboxes right when they get to work. Avoid promoting your webinar in the afternoon. There's a steep drop in registration starting at around, say, 2 p.m. Ensure the means of communications to any one party is comfortable and easy to use. Simplicity is key. For branding, PR and media purposes, ensure there is a clear route and deliverables are charted out in the initial stages itself. Take into consideration budget, organic reach, and in-house capabilities in deciding an agency to partner with. Once your goals are set, timeliness is of essence and deadlines should be adhered to for maximum traction. Do not forget to invite the partner organizations to the event. This helps to build mutually beneficial, lasting relationships. Remember to communicate any change in the event flow, structure, and details with your event partners. And this is the time to seize the opportunity to brand content, especially via written communication and social media. Proofread material sufficiently to avoid grammatical, context, and tonal errors. Audio communication is the third part in this. This is the most neglected, but plays a silent, strong role in how participants view your event, especially your brand. Quick response times to concerns, responding to queries readily and satisfactorily calls for agility and attention to detail. Increasing one-on-one audience interaction through verbal cues, such as a warm welcome at the start of the webinar, responding to those who reach out with technical or other concerns, given it is a virtual event, can do wonders. The tool for interaction should be carefully selected. Ensure it is user-friendly. And any call to action, be it verbal or in written form, should be clear and directive. Some quick tips are, get people to use reaction buttons. Like on Zoom, I think you'll find a set of quite interesting reaction buttons. You can just check that out as well. Since virtual events lack a face-to-face interaction, what you can do is speak 20% slower and enunciate as clearly as possible. A participant might have subtitles on and may not be able to hear you clearly. Should you wish to cover a complicated topic, include a visually illustrative example. In a language constrained environment, consider the option of having a translator present. Continuity and event planning go hand in hand. Once the ball is set in motion, it is imperative to ensure there are no breaks, gaps, and foreseeable systemic failures that break the momentum. To ensure seamlessness, predetermined timelines and checklists, these are your instruments, put them to good use. Depending on the scale and complexity of the event, the timeline detailing can either be daily, hourly, or minute to minute. So this chronological sequence of events is the aid you will ultimately depend on, as it provides immediate action points. It lists out responsibilities and deadlines. So also, checklists are synonymous to event planning, as there are a dozen details flying around that you need to be on top of. Since every event is actually a project managed, set aside a team with clear roles and responsibilities. Teamwork is absolutely crucial and ensures a smooth flow and process. It aids in catching flyaway errors that would otherwise go undetected. Consider an off-platform mode of communication like WhatsApp. Working in a team allows the best creative minds and individual strengths to come together. Event planning can turn out to be quite tiresome and overwhelming experience, but when you work in a team, you know your planning is still progressing, even when you are taking a well-deserved nap. Creating a flow and detailed agenda of the event is super helpful, as team roles and deliverables are clearly laid out and each team member knows what's happening at every point in the event duration. And lastly, always be prepared with a contingency plan. Events are dynamic in nature and there can be various foreseen and unforeseen factors that influence, disrupt, and dissolve it. For example, procuring a video recording of a speaker's presentation, getting speakers to send in their presentations beforehand, packing up AV equipment and Wi-Fi, etc. are just some of the minor issues. Major changes would be if the event was actually cancelled due to an unforeseen act of nature or government regulations, client dissatisfaction, etc. And these are just a few examples. We are skimming the surface. It is on account of these scenarios, one must incorporate the unexpected while planning. There are only so many loopholes you can pivot on in the foreseeable future. In collaboration, this is the final part of my presentation, and this is also post-event legwork. Once the event is complete.
Julian? Yes, it's Adelina here. Can we wrap up soon as we...
Sure.
Yeah?
Yes. So once the event is completed and the exhaustion kicks in, this keep a reminder that there is still important activities to close out with. The main important and most obvious one would be to send out thank you email to participants and appreciation emails to speakers, partners, and sponsors. If it is a business event that you have successfully managed, ensure all business agreements and discussions are set in stone at the earliest. Post-production is an important tool to not lose out on precious data and memorable moments once the content is synthesized, documented correctly. Sharing this information with your online portals and publishers becomes almost mandatory. I'm very quickly going to move out into the last slides. Here are some key event KPIs. So when working with performance goals, focus on what you can control. Event KPIs seem pretty obvious, but you need to decide what information will aid your path to the event purpose. There are things that are sometimes simply out of your control. That's why the way you phrase your goals is so important when communicating and realizing expectations. This slide is actually something that I've put together. It has helped me throughout these years, the entire time that I've managed multiple various events. It's something that will help you and will keep you in good stead, even though you are planning a small event. It's a big event. It can be any kind, any format. These are the things that I live by, and I think I just thought this would be really helpful for you guys as well. So yes, sharing this with you. Lastly, these are some hosting platforms and apps to help get you started. Um, I'm sure most of you might have already, used this before, but for those who haven't and would like to, use different applications, please feel free to make note of it and get accustomed to it. That's it from me. Over to you, Adelina.
Thank you so much, Jillian. We can share a presentation with the speakers. I'd like to now quickly invite Chavi and Deepti for the second section. Um, yeah.
Hi, Adelina. Thank you, Jillian. This is very informative. Will help Saturday Art Class also organize some trainings, keeping these in mind. So quickly, we'll just share screen and share the presentation. So hello, we are Chavi and Deepti from Saturday Art Class. Little bit about Saturday Art Class. At Saturday Art Class, we inculcate social emotional learning integrated with art as a part of classroom and school curriculum in order to help our children express freely, create safe spaces of expression, and help them become more aware, creative, and compassionate. Um, our vision being to creatively empower children to change the world within and around them. We work with children from low income communities in Mumbai by partnering with institutions and schools, organizations that work within this sector. So, why are we here? Like Jillian already mentioned, we're talking about how we can have host online events um, in a way, in a manner that can help the attendees gain maximum information, as well as can drive the purpose that we're hosting the event for in the first place in a better way. um, at Saturday Art Class, we have worked at different online events in the past 1 year, given the pandemic, given the fact that we wanted to make a space that was virtual but that had a feeling of the physical space that we were working within. Um, what happened during the pandemic, I think I don't need to mention this, but there was loss of normalcy. Children lost their normal school hours. Teachers lost being able to meet with children in a classroom setting. We were forced to take on a virtual platform. Keeping all of these in mind, what did we do to ensure that we were still reaching out to our students? Students were still reaching out to their teachers, and at the same time, the purpose of Saturday Art Class, that is to creatively empower, was being driven. So, our response to loss of physical learning spaces was organizing safe spaces online. How did we do that? Through an event called Serendipity Circles, which was organized for our volunteer communities, Safe Sharing Spaces, which was organized for our student community, Recovery Virtual Classrooms, again organized for our student community, student-led workshops that was organized by our students for adults, and Saturday Art Class develop partnerships with education institutions such as Teach for India, Reality Gives, in order to train their teachers online on a virtual platform with our curriculum and then help them take that into their classrooms through virtual or physical classrooms. I will now give the space to Deepti to talk about how did we work on building these events, that is serendipity circles, virtual classrooms, student-led workshops. Yeah, Deepti, you may go.
Thank you. So I think at Saturday Art Class, we came from a perspective to make sure that whether it's our children or the facilitators or people we're working with, feel safe and their emotions are taken care of, right? So there is a lot out there, and I think Jillian covered things in terms of how to go about structuring an online event. But I think our organization comes from a space where what can we do to really take care of the well-being of our participants, whether it's students or adults as well. So the concept of serendipity circles is an additional thing that we offered for our employees that we had, or the people who we were working with in Saturday Art Class. And it was a sharing space. It was a group sharing space that met from 9 to 10:30, that was completely not work related. And it was very specific to sharing and expressing yourself. The basics are on the slide itself, but I think what really worked was, while I initiated the concept of it, what helped is not having one person dominate the space. So every single week we had 1.5 hour dedicated to taking care of the well-being of our people. And week on week, I was not the person who would facilitate it. I extended the opportunity for somebody else to bring in their own personality and their own ideas to be able to kind of bring about this safe sharing space for everybody. Yes, next. When it comes to just working with students or children and creating safe sharing spaces, I came up with this acronym called MAGIC. And I think this is what I've learned in the last 1.5 years from being a teacher, and just also being somebody at Saturday Art Class who would facilitate sessions both for adults and children. First, M, make your humans move, right? So given the interest of time, I'm not going to make all of you move, but if I did have time, I would make everybody get up and move, because I think just very psychologically and matter of factly, when we're sitting in front of a screen, we have this tendency to maybe just slip into our chairs or just like lie down, and the absorption of information then becomes less. So M for make your humans move. A, I know our organization is called Saturday Art Class, which is not why I have made the A, art with your humans. But again, I'm just thinking about like different bodily movements, right? When you're facilitating online, I think we've thought a lot about what are we losing out on when we don't have each other's face-to-face energy. So art can be as simple as any icebreaker involving drawing or creating, right? So everybody tell us how you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, and write that out and show it to people on the screen. I think engagement is something that I think Saturday Art Class loves to advocate for. And just in terms of, because we focus a lot on social emotional learning, a lot of our sessions, when we think of online sessions, we're thinking about the well-being of our participants. So art with your humans will be just somewhere in your online event, having some sort of drawing or creative element to really make sure that your participants are energized. G is give explicit instructions to ensure that everyone is on the same page, modeling it out. So if you're giving an instruction to read something or write something or think about something, it's very, very important, especially with a younger age group. But I think overall also is to model that out, so that, again, when you're in a home environment, when you're in front of a screen, you cannot always gauge the energy of the individual. I is inspire and be inspired. So through the course of your online event, we really, really encourage some sort of inspiration. It could be through a video, it could be through a story. And these small things can just be added through the course of your online event, right? All organizations are not like we're luckily focused on art and creativity and all of that. But if your online event has like a serious tone, we still encourage you to add MAGIC, certain elements in that. Collective voice is to, again, I'm not doing a very good job of modeling that out right now, but collective voice is, I would spend maybe 5 minutes out of the 15 minutes given to us ensuring that we have equal voices in space, in taken into consideration rather than just me talking. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just giving you a few examples. We've been able to train a lot of teachers in other organizations in terms of what we do. Here are some snapshots and some pointers in terms of what we kept in mind. But predominantly, as an organization, we keep in mind magic to make sure that our online events are facilitated smoothly.
Okay, so the next part is that of student-led workshops. This is something that we started as part of a leadership journey for our students who've been with Saturday Art Class for 5 years now. They have started to host online events for adults. These events are art and social emotional learning centric. A snippet of it's a 2-minute video that we can see how our children are doing it, and then I would love responses in the chat box to know certain trends, certain things that you're noticing, because I think the audience present here has already worked with children, has worked with partners, so you would be able to pick out the trends that we're trying to work with when it comes to our students and when it comes to hosting online workshops for our children. So I will just play it. Let me know if you
Thank you so much, Nikhil. Let's all look at the screen and answer questions that I will ask you in about some time. Remember, there is no right or wrong answer, only different answer because it's what makes us unique. What does this color make you feel? Remember, different color can mean different emotion for different people. I know for that green color makes me feel calm, but I know for Mehak that green color makes us feel energetic. Would anyone like to volunteer and tell me what green color makes you feel?
I feel peace because it reminds me of forest. So I just feel peace.
Thank you so much for sharing. If green color also makes you any emotion or any feeling, you can share that with us in the chat box.
You can also share it by unmuting. You can also share by unmuting yourself if you prefer to do it that way.
So green makes me feel relaxed.
Now, what does this color makes you feel?
Okay, so as you saw, what were the certain things, if you could put that in the chat box, what are the certain things that you're noticing that our children are doing, especially with respect to what Deepti just said? Are they using a collective voice? Are they asking for interaction within the workshop segment? Are they looking at the audience and are they ensuring that, exactly, I got an answer from Ben that says magic. They're ensuring that all the things that we as Saturday Art Class are working with in terms of trainings for our teachers is something that they're using when they're hosting an online event for adults. And I think the major part of being a leader is to be able to read the room and to be able to get responses from the room and to largely create a collective voice, whether that's online or whether that's in a physical setting. And for that for us is a win when children are able to do that at the end of our program. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adelina, for having us here, for Deepti and I to be here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shami. It was a beautiful presentation. I could see a few feedback comments on the Zoom chat too. We could now have Sunil Arora from Balasha Trust leading the final section.
Yes. Just 1 second. I'm gonna share this. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
So thank you very much. To give a context to my experience with online events, I want to talk about what we are doing at Balasha. We are a home for children who are rescued or abandoned at various public places in Mumbai. And we also receive kids from various parts of Maharashtra. And we have kids almost from sometimes day one to about 12 years of age. And these kids come from various situations. They have a lot of trauma, and they are scared, and they are hoping that Balasha becomes a safe space for them, where we are able to take good care of them. So when we are taking care of children 24/7, we are almost the ones who find ourselves in organizing these events and ensuring that the beneficiaries are equally benefited who are in Balasha, with the help of volunteers who we connect through different CSR organizations or ConnectFor. So how these events are definitely helping us is to make sure that the kids who are living in the orphanage are well connected with the outside world. Because before pandemic, we had a lot of events where volunteers could walk in. We could have like on a Thursday or a Saturday, we could do these events, and there was a lot of interaction with volunteers from across the board. But suddenly during the pandemic, we found that we couldn't have any more volunteers physically visiting us. So after a couple of, I would say, 2-3 months of understanding how to go about it, we found that the online way of life, and we really, with the team and with the children, we adopted it very well, where we could take almost everything, which we could do virtually with these online events. So we could interact, my kids could interact with the outside world. We could, learn new skills through online interactions. And with the Saturday art class, we just heard about them. This the art classes, the craft and interaction help the children to for painting, drawing, where they could really channelize their inner emotions. Because I personally feel that art is one of the forms which has really helped my children to open up and share some things which they have encountered before coming to Balasha. And at the same time, it helped us to sit in our Balasha, which is in Mahalakshmi, Mumbai, and tour anywhere we wanted. So visiting tour to Delhi, to Kolkata, to Mumbai, our volunteers have been able to organize any kind of tours for us. So basically, online opportunities like online could be used for anything, not only for basic workshops, but learning, webinars and trainings, but also to ensure that kids who are sometimes, and I think most of the kids right now, for our beneficiaries, even if they're living in their homes, they're confined to their homes, they should be able to benefit from online interactions. And it provides these children with a lot of opportunities. Like the video we saw, I think the kind of confidence we saw in that child when he was talking about or conducting that workshop is itself a proof that these interactions build a lot of confidence in these kids, and it definitely expands their horizons in what they are doing. And they are able to express themselves comfortably, because it should not happen, especially for people like us who are running a children's home. And let's say another 2 years or another 6 months from now, when the schools will open, which will be almost 2 years since kids have seen their schools, it should not that they should not be comfortable about interacting with people, or their education should not be they should not be lacking behind in their education. This opportunity has really opened up, where my kids also are able to interact with volunteers from across the world actually. And there is, when these interactions happen, this becomes a very base of our work which we do with a lot of volunteers. I think a lot has been already said about what do you need, while you're preparing for a good, interactive volunteering session. But just to come to a very basics of what we are doing at Balasha, obviously you need a great internet connection. You need sufficient devices to make sure that after, behind every 3 to 4 kids, we have at least one device. It could be a laptop, it could be a tab, which obviously is connected with an internet connection, and definitely a laptop which is connected to a major sound device. because what we find is when like we are speaking, it's okay one-to-one, but when you're addressing to a larger group of children, which is almost 20, on some of the days, it's very difficult to hear what the presenter is saying if it's from only one laptop. So we have arranged a great technology platform for the kids where, the kids are able to not only interact with the participants well, but hear them well. And undoubtedly, you need a great, software, like Zoom or Google Meet to conduct such activities. Over a span of 2 years, I just wanted to, talk about something very interesting. Apart from art and apart from, different activities, we have actually, taken our kids on virtual tours to different parts of the world. So we were able to get a virtual farm visit in California for these kids. We were able to get some, volunteers from different parts of the world to interact with the kids. So basically, in a nutshell, if we are able to use this opportunity well of online volunteering, it's a very eye opener, and you can do anything with so many opportunities. Like for example, the animal farm tour, we just booked it on Airbnb because Airbnb that started organizing so many, these virtual from cooking to visits and all that, and we were able to just book that for the kids, and the kids had a wonderful time. When the activity is happening, obviously you need to have a lot of interaction, engaging. One of the things which we do is, I think, which is unique, which I hope other NGOs could also use, is the volunteers which we are interacting with have actually not seen our grassroots level work. Okay, they are coming there for an activity, they do the activity, and then you have lost touch with that volunteer. What we have started doing is, before every session with the volunteers, we make sure that we give them a virtual tour. Now, these virtual tours are not just video recorded tours and pre-recorded audio and video and all that. Undoubtedly, it's a pre-recorded video, but the entire tour is taken live, like how I'm talking to right now, which involves the volunteers, and they're able to see the work of the organization much more closer than just conducting an activity and moving out, from the space. So this has become, I think, it's like a feature where larger corporates, houses are now asking us. So suppose if I decide not to have the tour, thinking that it may be from the same section of the corporate, they come back to us and say, no, we want you to start with the virtual tour, because that involves our team members a lot in the program, and we want to do that. So this could be a great opportunity, which I think a lot of you could take back in conducting some virtual tours for your participants before they actually get into the actual volunteering with children. And once they have done that, once you have spoken about what the kids are and how they are coming and do's and don'ts and all that, I think that involves a lot of, I would say, connection of the volunteer and the children while the activity is being conducted. A lot of planning is going on. Apart from, I think, we already heard what kind of broader planning goes. In my case, because I'm running a children's home, my, planning is slightly more detailed, but and in terms of more practical, in where we decide, make sure that the dates are decided 2 weeks in advance when we are conducting. We don't take short, like, okay, let's do an activity while, this coming Saturday. No, we make sure that we have at least a 2-week window to conduct any activity. We make sure that the activity is pre-decided with the volunteers, that what are they expecting, and is it good for our kids to conduct such activities, or hopefully we have not repeated that in the recent past. We make sure that we don't repeat our activities very often. Make sure that all the team members are involved. So from superintendent to our social workers, why? Like the superintendent and the paramedicals will ensure that the kids are ready on the time. The social workers will ensure that the activity is introduced to these children, and obviously the stockist as well, because all the stock, whether you require any educational material, is available to conduct that. So everything is well planned in advance. It's ready. The kids are informed about it, and they are aware that what kind of session will be conducted. And I have to mention here that all the volunteers who have come back to us, in some other activities which have happened, they have come with very unique things. So, for example, the Mumbai tour, which I just spoke about, in the Mumbai tour, when they took the children to the Shivaji Park video, they wore an actual cricket, uniform while they were talking about Shivaji Park. So it could be made very interactive from the children's perspective. And undoubtedly, you have to make sure that after you have conducted your activity, you are sharing with your followers and you're sharing with your donors, you're sharing with people who care about you or have volunteered in the past. So whether you use channels like Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, I'm completely a WhatsApp fan, where I think a lot of interest comes from people on WhatsApp. Twitter, you have to share with your well-wishers that what you're conducting, because they want to see exactly what you're doing with your beneficiaries and the work which you do on day to day. So definitely, sharing about your activities is a great help. Evaluate it. So once your activity is definitely conducted, you go back with your team, you go back to your children, find out what worked, what did not work. And yes, of course, like I think Ginny said that things sometimes it's not easy, where you make some flaws and you go wrong on some of these activities, but then you improve them. And we have done everything, so from not finding stuff to technologically going wrong, or deciding too much on a single day. So for example, sometimes you have decided like 2 to 3 activities to fit into 1.5 hours, but don't bother. If you can't do that, you tell your volunteers that you would like to do a shorter versions of it, which makes children more comfortable. So you learn during the way. And of course, one of the very unique things which we have is monthly we conduct a children's committee meeting. So we have a children's committee where all the activities which we are planning or have been planned are discussed. Children get a right to decide what they would like to participate in. So these are some of the things which we do. I didn't want to repeat too many things which have already been covered, but thank you very much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Sunil. That was a beautiful presentation, and lovely to see the process flow at Balasha. Um, Now we are ready to close our event. We do have one question from an attendee though regarding um, the Dan Utsav event that's upcoming. They would like to know what are some of the ideas of for the programs for Dan Utsav at your organization. Yes, Sunil?
Yeah. So for Dan Utsav, I think one of the greatest idea which I love about is the giving tree. I think it's my all-time favorite, where we decide that what are the things which my children need in kind, whether it could be something from diapers, to be very frank, to cycles or books or anything. And we reach out to our corporate partners and give them that list with obviously the number of kids and how much do we require. And one of the ways which we encourage our corporates to have a giving tree at their place, where all these things are pre-pasted on that tree, and their team members can pick anything. So they could pick up like, okay, I want to donate a 1 pack of diapers. So apart from donation, we obviously do I have to tell that the tours which I've been talking about, I think they have been a great success. So that is one of the things which they can use to make sure that more people get involved in their NGO through these initiatives. So obviously Dan Utsav is all about generating awareness about the work and collecting donations. But I don't, as an organization, I don't see Dan Utsav as a very big fundraising exercise as such. Of course, it's a very important kind of week, and we do take opportunity, but in a very small way. Like I said, we try to generate more kind donations than anything else, and do in a very basic format.
Thank you so much, Sunil. We also have Jillian with us. Jillian, would you like to share your perspectives regarding Dan Utsav?
Hi, I think my perspectives would be a little different because I think these are more on-ground perspectives. The kinds of events that Dalberg deals with is quite different from the ones that I've heard online right now. So any specific topic that you want me to share about?
Um, so basically, the question is regarding what kind of events or programs we could probably include for Dan Utsav. Yeah. So
Yeah,
all
with
right.
regard to the
With regard
sorry.
to NGOs organizing events, either for their stakeholders or their beneficiaries, what are some of the ideas that we can look at for Dan Utsav?
Additionally, yes. So I've seen. I mean, from experience, I've seen that especially if you want to schedule a good professional event for funders or say external stakeholders, right? These kind of events are very personal, and you need to develop that kind of space where they believe that the work that you're doing is important, that you guys know what work you've undertaken, and are serious about the kind of business that they are going to be investing in. So something like, say, a breakfast roundtable, or uh, a meetup, right? Like an informal meetup, is something that I see workable in this particular sphere.
Thank you so much, Sunil and Jillian, for answering the question, and for being a wonderful set of speakers. It was definitely a beautiful event. Unfortunately, Chavi and Deepthi, they had to drop off, but in case anyone has any additional questions regarding planning an event or regarding any of the presentations, you can share it with us via the feedback form. And we can also share the presentation with you if you're interested via an email. We can now conclude by thanking all of our speakers, Julian, Sunil, Chavi, and Deepthi. We have gathered definitely beautiful insights and learnings today. I'd also like to thank our attendees who are present here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for today's session and for being a wonderful audience. I request you to please fill the feedback form, as it will help us to curate many more sessions like these. Ashwaya from my team has already sent the link to you in the chat box. As mentioned earlier, if you have any questions that have remained unanswered this session, you can put your queries on the form and we can request our speakers to answer them offline. We are also thrilled to be organizing a webinar in the month of September on tactics to project management with expert speakers for all our partner and non-profit NGOs. Uh, Again, Aishwarya from the team will be sharing the details with you shortly. Um, and yes, it was lovely having you all here, and we look forward to seeing you for upcoming webinars and events. Take care.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Thank you, everybody.